How's it going, lads, and welcome back to the garage. A couple of days ago, a few friends of mine dropped off this beautiful old wooden jack plane. Now, by the looks of it, it hasn't taken a shaving in donkey's years, but in spite of that, it looks to be in a condition that we can get it going again. So in today's video, we're going to do just that. Now the first thing we're going to do is just grab our mega mallet here, and that should loosen up the wedge and allow us to pull out the iron, the chip breaker and the wedge. And now we can get on to flattening the sole. So last night I tuned up this Stanley 605 jack plane here, and it is consistently taking shavings that are about, if I throw it in the micrometer here, 1/1000th of an inch thick. So this fella is tuned to within an inch of its life, and now we're going to use that to flatten the sole of our plane here. So because I spent some time last night lapping this sole dead flat, we know that it is completely flat. Now this fella, I can say with confidence, is not flat. Even just to the touch, you can tell it's kind of bumpy and not level at all. So we should, in theory, be able to translate the flat sole of this plane onto this one. So we're just going to spend a few minutes slowly trying to flatten down the sole of this plane here. Now I was going to just sand the sides, but I feel like if I just plane them down to bare beach once more, I think it'll look a bit nicer and cleaner. And besides, there's so much little scratches and scuffs on it that no matter what I do, this thing will hold a vintage, weathered look. Right, so I have a scraper here that I'm just using to figure out the top part there. Something I've been a little bit more worried about trying is planing the end grain here, because there's like little initials carved into it, and if I take off too much I might wear those in. So I reckon instead I'm just going to get some very high grit sandpaper here. I think this is like, what, 240 grit, and we're going to use that just to kind of sand it down, and that shouldn't wear away the initials of the previous owner. Same story then with the handle. I'm just going to bring it down, give it a nice new finish with 240 grit. People always ask me, why do I have sanding discs from an orbital sander? I do have power tools, I just try not to use them when I'm making videos, just because I think hand tools are quieter, more satisfying and cheaper, so that I'm showing you guys you can do all this yourselves. But yeah, that's why I'm using an orbital sanding disc here. I should probably buy myself the paper on its own, because it'll probably save me a bit of money, but at the minute all the shops are closed, so this is what we're doing. We're making do with what we have. Well lads, I'm pretty happy with the way the body is at the minute, so I think we all know the next step. Now for a while I couldn't find my linseed oil, so we're using axe oil to finish it, but Christmas came a day late, lads. I was cleaning the garage floor this morning, and look what showed up. Only our wonderful linseed oil. So it's a nice little treat for you all here now. We're just going to pour a drop on and use our hands there now to rub it all in and give this a nice sealed finish. It'll probably need a few layers just because it's been left dry out for so long, but man, there is nothing more satisfying than putting linseed oil into very old, very dry wood. It's mad to see how the colour instantly went back into the handle once we put a bit of oil on it. That looks fantastic, and it fits great in the hand, especially the end grain. Look at that, just how I rinse my hand on it and it'll soak it all right in. That's the dog's collar box that keeps on ringing in the background. It's a lead, it's a wire that stops her from running out the gate and terrorising local children, but anytime it snaps it starts beeping in the garage. It's happening a lot lately. It's very annoying. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but anytime I rub oil into the end grain, it gets soaked right in, just because end grain absorbs oil and moisture a lot easier, and this thing has been so dry for so long. Right, so it looks like we have the body pretty much done and ready to go. It's in great condition, it feels great in the hand. I'm looking forward to using it, but we'll set that to the side for now, and I'll see where I put the wedge and the chip breaker, and they pretty much already sit apart for us. They're both covered in a bit of rust, and they're as blunt as could be, so we'll try sort that out. So for the rust removal, just WD-40 followed by sandpaper, And you can see there now there's that rusty looking solution. Normally I give it like 2 or 3 minutes of just scrubbing. Then I come along with a tissue or a towel and I just clean all that off. And there's still a bit of patina, but that doesn't bother me. That's not going to affect performance. That's not going to get anything dirty. So we'll leave it like that and just flip it around to the other side and repeat the process. For the screw that connects the iron and the chip breaker together, I'm going to use my normal trick of just locking it into the chuck of a drill here, grabbing some sandpaper and just giving it a quick few rotations. And the sides now are nice and clean. And if I just bring it into the face of it, I probably want to keep my hands away for it this time and just kind of go like that. And yeah, that normally does the trick of making it look relatively clean again. So now that we have it nice and clean, I'm going to bring it onto the diamond stone and flatten the back of the iron. So this is the 400 grit side of the stone. I'm using a bit of WD-40 once again to lube up the stone, which makes it a bit easier just to kind of glide over all the plated diamonds that are allowing us to remove so much material. A trick you can do is place the ruler at the end here, and this speeds up the flattening process. You can only do this with plain irons, but basically if we go like this a couple of times at the very edge, it should give us a nice clean edge incredibly quickly, and you can see that's already working for me. Now there's a lot of pitting at the end of this iron, so I might have to spend a few minutes longer at it, but that's what I'm going to do here now for a while. Another step is to flatten the chip breaker here by just kind of running it along like this for a few short passes, and that just makes sure it sits completely flush with the iron when you're ready to put it all back together. Now to actually hone the iron itself, I have a honing guide right here. Now it says there to hone a plain iron to 30 degrees, you want to stick it out by 38 millimeters. So I have a rule here. I'm going to match up 38 millimeters, which we're already not too far off, just need to bring it back 1 or 2. And once we have it fairly close, we can lock it all back into place and just start honing. Right, so I'm going to turn it around now from 400 grit up to 1000 grit and just start honing again. Just for the crack then, we're going to bring it onto the Japanese whetstone here and just hone it by pulling it like this. Now I know you're meant to let these fellas soak for about 15 minutes before using them, but if you just keep on feeding them water and use them nice and quick, I feel like it doesn't do too much damage. So I'll wipe all this away with the towel now, get out the strapping strip and just kind of pull on both sides like this for a while. I don't know how well you can make out the hairs on my forearms there, but they are being shaved right off with this fella. Lovely, beautiful edge on it. The camera's not doing it a whole pile of justice, but you can see there now, there's a good proper edge on her. With all that said and done, the only thing left to do is put them back together. So I'm going to line up the chip breaker so that it's only about 1 millimeter away from the iron here. Lock it into place on my fingers before coming around the back with the screwdriver and driving it home. We're going to gently slide them into place there. Grab our wedge and just kind of, I have a hammer behind me here that we're going to use to adjust it. So I'm going to spend a while adjusting it and I'll get back to you guys once we're taking shavings. So some bonus footage here of me sanding the wedge as well. That's something I forgot to do earlier when we were oiling and sanding the plane. So I have it up here now. Now the iron is a bit stiff in the wood, so I kind of have to be a bit careful now. But there we go, it seems to have made its way down to the bottom, yeah, for sure. And now we just need to worry about putting the wedge in, which we can also hammer down shut. And then we can just spend a few minutes tapping the plane slightly further, or tapping the iron further into the body each time until we're taking a shaving. Now I think this could be one of the rare times where we get it right first time, and we're taking slightly more on the right than the left, so give it a few more minutes here and we'll have this fella taking gorgeous shavings, no problem at all. So I think we might have gone a bit too far. We're taking shavings that aren't as thin as I'd like them to be, or thicker than they should be, given that we sharpened it up to 8,000 grit. We can measure there now, they're about 3,000ths of an inch thick, which is by all means very good. But I think what we're going to have to do is come along with our mega mallet, knock the plane iron a bit out again and just start over. Now some people like to turn the plane upside down like this and kind of eyeball along the length of it, but I kind of find it better to just go with the hammer, trial and error until you take something. Alright, so I think now I have a taking shavings that are about 1/1000 of an inch thick. I just measured a fella there, he was good and thin. But there we have it now. We have this plane performing just like a good old-fashioned jack plane should. Telling you lads, there is absolutely nothing as satisfying in this world than using a well-sharpened hand plane to cut through a piece of pine. That smells fantastic. Well lads, here we have it. Cutting exactly how it's supposed to. There's probably room in the toolbox, or at least the workbench for this fella. No doubt it'll get plenty of use. I do have another wooden jack plane, but I'll show you there. It's slightly different. The handle has been lowered, and I reckon this is an earlier or later model than this fella. This fella definitely looks older. This was actually manufactured by Marples, so it definitely was mass produced. This fella, it's hard to say. It looks like the handle was replaced at some point by a very nice handle, mind you. But there we go lads. Hopefully we can get another couple of decades, if not a century, out of this fella. I'll be sure to keep him dry. I'd like to say a big thank you to Roy, Diane, Meg and CJ for donating me this plane, or gifting it even. They were good enough to let me park my Curragh by their mobile home last summer, so big hearts. It doesn't go unappreciated. Thanks for watching lads. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Good luck.